Hello, and welcome back to this Tuts Plus course on Essential WordPress plugins. In this part of the course, we'll continue looking at the Jetpack plugin, and I'll show you how to install and configure it on your site. So let's go to the dashboard and then go to the screen for adding new plugins. Now, I don't need to do a search for Jetpack because it's one of the highlighted ones that appears on the plugin screen. So I'll click on Install Now, and then I'll click the Activate button to activate it. Now I'll be taken straight to a Setup Jetpack wizard. So I'm going to set up Jetpack, which basically consists of either creating a WordPress.com account or logging into my existing WordPress.com account in order to link it to my account. And at this point, it also gives you the option to set up a premium WordPress.com account if you want. Now, you can see it pushes this at you. It wants you to get a premium account with things like backups. So if you wanted, you could actually use Jetpack to replace some of the other plugins that we've looked at. For example, backups, SEO, and performance. But you have to pay for it. So I'm going to keep on scrolling down. I'm not going to worry about all these different versions of premium plans, paid plans. Instead, I'm going to click this slightly less obvious button, which is Start with Free. So I will continue with that, and here it's going to give me some pop-ups, which are slightly annoying, and I'm now in WordPress.com. So I can manage my site from WordPress.com. There are elements of it I can do in WordPress.com, so I can add content in WordPress.com if I want to, and I can also manage which Jetpack features I'm using. But I'm going to go back to my original site. So let's go to the dashboard, and then you can see it's added this Jetpack item, and it's got some more pop-ups. I'll take a look at the Privacy Center a bit later. So I'm on the dashboard screen. I've got my site stats, which is empty at the moment because this is a brand new site. I can upgrade for security, for anti-spam, and for backups, although you can actually get Akismet for free if you're using a personal site, in much the same way as you would if you were using the Akismet plugin. Here it's telling me if my plugins are up to date, and I can manage them. And there's also something called Protect, which I can use for security. Now that's not going to have the same amount of security features as a security plugin. But again, I've got this scan option if I want it, so I can upgrade. Now again, you're paying for that, but the benefit of it is it's one plugin providing everything. And it's going to be a very reliable plugin because it's based on WordPress.com. So if you're happy paying for that, it means you only have one plugin to keep updated. It means you know there aren't going to be any clashes between the different plugins that you're running. So if you wanted to, you could have Jetpack as your one essential plugin, and you'd effectively be running a WordPress.com site on a self-hosted site. Now you may be thinking, what's the point? Why don't I just get WordPress.com? But I would always recommend getting a self-hosted site because it's your site. You own everything in your site if it's on WordPress.org or self-hosted. If you go on WordPress.com, although you can get a premium plan and you can install plugins and that sort of thing, it's still not yours. It's not on your turf. So I would always go with WordPress.org or self-hosted WordPress. So I'm going to activate this downtime monitor, and that will tell me if my website goes down, and it will also tell me when my website goes up again. So what you'll find is you often get an email and then another email about a minute later telling you your website's back up again. I've got an image accelerator here for performance, which is very similar to the smushing that I did in the Performance WP Optimize plugin. So I can activate that to optimize my image sizes if I want. I'm going to deactivate that because I've already got it activated via WP Optimize. And I can also replace the basic search from WordPress.org, from self-hosted WordPress, with a customizable search. Again, that's something you have to upgrade for. And to be honest, I think that's something you can get a free plugin that will do just as well. Now here, there are WordPress apps, and because you're linked into WordPress.com, you can use the WordPress app to manage your self-hosted WordPress site using Jetpack. So that's the main dashboard, and it tells you here what your plan is currently and gives you these buttons that you can use to upgrade, and it also gives you the options for different plans that you can upgrade to if you want to. So now let's take a look at the settings. So we've got some basic security settings activated via Jetpack that we're able to do with the free version. So we've got downtime monitoring, and we can also use auto update for auto updating plugins, which will save you time having to go in and manually update your plugin if you want. We've enabled brute force protection, which will reduce the chances of your site being hacked. And here we can enable WordPress.com login and include two-step authentication for extra security if we want. So I'm not going to worry about that just now. So now let's look at performance. And again, performance is something that we already added using another plugin. And you can add extra performance features with Jetpack if you upgrade. So we've got this site accelerator, which optimizes images and static files, including CSS and JavaScript. And again, we did that using the WP Optimize plugin. We've got lazy loading for images, which is something that we did using WP Optimize. Search, we've touched on, and again, it's an upgrade. So those are some basic performance enhancements we can add there. If you wanted more, you'd have to upgrade and get a paid plan. We now have some writing options. So Jetpack has some really nice media options to make your media look better. So you can have full screen carousel galleries, and you can change the colour on the background of that if you want. I like black. We've got some options for composing. So we can use Markdown, we can copy entire posts and pages, we can use the latex markup language, or use shortcodes to embed media from other sites. So I'm going to enable that because sometimes that can be useful. And then Jetpack gives you two custom content types, which are testimonials and portfolios. Now, to be honest, I would ignore these. They are nowhere near as powerful as a custom post type in WordPress. They don't give you the same option to include archive pages and to add custom taxonomies to those content types, so just ignore them. And we've then got some theme enhancements. And again, I would ignore these because your theme should be providing all that. Now, there are extra widgets you can have. The subscription form can be quite useful. So I'm going to enable that. And if you want, you can have widget visibility, so your widgets are only displayed on particular posts or pages. So you can then set that up when you're setting up the widget or when you're editing a post or page. You can publish posts by sending an email, which I'm going to keep off because I don't like the security risks with that. And you can enable the WordPress.com toolbar if you want, which I'm not going to do. Now I'll go back up here and I'll save what I've done with the media here. And my other ones I've saved have been blanked out, so I don't need to click them. Now here's one of my favourite features of Jetpack, and this is where you can share your posts and enable other people to share your posts. So this publicize option means you can connect your social media accounts, and then when you add a new post, it automatically posts to all of those social media accounts, so you don't have to manually go and do it. It's particularly useful if you're scheduling your post for the future and you don't want to have to remember to go in and post that on Facebook or Twitter when it's published. Instead, Jetpack will do it for you. You can add sharing buttons to your posts and pages, and let's configure those. So here we can configure those sharing buttons here, edit those and add some more. No, we don't print it. Let's add Reddit, Tumblr, Pinterest, Pocket, and that'll do. Close that. And you can select how it looks. So there's an icon, which is what I had on my website I showed you earlier, just text, or the official buttons, which will pull in from those websites. Now I think that looks a bit of a mess, so I'm going to have icon only. And then you've got options as to where you show these. So I'm just going to have them on my posts and not my pages. And you can include your Twitter username here, so that if people retweet something or they share something using Twitter, it'll include your username. So I'm going to save those changes. I'll close that window to go back into my Jetpack screen, and I'm also going to add a like button to my posts and pages so people can like those using their WordPress.com account. Now here, that's that comments form that I showed you before, which is better than the default WordPress one. I'm not going to worry about these. I am going to enable comment likes, and I'm going to let people subscribe. So I will enable those because it's good to encourage as many subscriptions as possible. And those settings have been automatically updated because it uses JavaScript to do that. And then we're looking back at traffic and ways that you can optimize traffic and maximize it in your site. And the related posts option is a really good way of getting people to stay on your site and look at more content. So I'm going to include a thumbnail image and I'm going to show a heading. And I can configure that in the customizer. I've now got SEO and analytics, but I need to upgrade for those, which I'm not going to be doing. But again, that could replace the SEO plugin that we've already looked at earlier on in the course. We can generate shortened URLs if we want using wp.me. I'm going to enable that. And very importantly, generate a sitemap. So an XML sitemap is possibly one of the most important SEO features any plugin will have. And again, you've got site verification with those webmaster tools, which we looked at in our SEO plugins, and those are all of our settings for traffic and SEO. And again, you can upgrade if you want more. So those are the features that you can enable with a free version of the Jetpack plugin and how you set them up. Now, I really like the Jetpack plugin. I know there are a lot of WordPress developers who are quite cynical about it because they don't like WordPress.com and they don't like all of the extra features that you might not need in Jetpack. But I think having a plugin that includes all of those sharing options as well as the related content and other options as well, which I think are really powerful, I think it's well worth installing. It's a reliable plugin. It will monitor your downtime as well. And if you upgrade to a paid plan, it can replace all of the other essential plugins that you've got on your site. So that's the Jetpack plugin. In the next part of the course, we're going to wrap up by recapping on what you've learned and what we've covered in the course. See you next time, and thanks for watching.